Lios Enchim Ania. Greetings, everyone. May the Creator bless you all. And welcome to my podcast, the Good to E Medicine Podcast. I'll be your host, Pete Rodriguez.
All my native people stand up. All my native people stand up.
Our honored guest has just arrived.
Yay.
Hey, Gary Farmer.
I knew you would show
Hello,
up.
Scanos Fuego. I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Squamish and the Burrard Band and Musqueam and a lot of Haida here. So hello everyone. Nice to be a part of this. I don't know what everyone's gathering. I don't know probably as much as you folks know. I haven't even seen the shows. I saw the pilot. Not sure if I saw the very first pilot or the one that they reshot with Sarah. And Tamara wasn't. Tamara was in the original pilot, and then she got tied up with something else and wasn't able to do the the series itself. So I think they reshot the first episode. Well, at least the parts of DeFaro's mom, Sarah Podemsky, plays in the series. So, but I only got the scripts that I was involved, and then I'm in the final script, I think. I believe today is about 7, because 7 actually plays before 6. I'm that's my understanding. And then there's 8, and I think that's it. I think there's just 8 episodes, so we're ending the run. I know a few other things, I guess, for your interest to get it all going. I know the writing room is going to start very shortly. There's a lot of additions to the writing room. Some more members of the 1491s, I believe they're going to be more involved. And there's some new writers, people, that Sterling has found, or, the connections run deep, of course, in the Native community, whether it's performing or writing or, as we develop this team of producers and showrunners and directors, it's all very exciting. So, and we'll see where they can take it on second season. I suspect that we'll start that probably in the spring of 22. And currently, just for your information, I'm here in Vancouver doing the second season of Resident Alien. If any of you saw that last season, so I certainly can answer to that a bit. But it's all about Reservation Dogs, and the kids are doing amazing. I mean, watching them on social media is like watching, I'm surprised they're not at the Met, everything that we're watching today on social media. Yeah, but they did, apparently, the 3 missing Lane. Lane is probably not able to travel because he's only 15 or 16 now. So, he's got school or whatever commitments. And so the kids, I think, gave away an Emmy. I'm not sure if that was last night. The 3 remaining leads, I think, gave away an Emmy last night. And so that's why we saw some social media with, and I guess Taika was at the Met thing last night, so he wasn't at the Emmy presentation, but I can see that they're hanging about in Los Angeles quite a bit, and the kids are getting swept up by kind of fashion statements in magazines and such. So that's kind of fascinating. They're kind of turning into real stars very quickly at a young age, and that's always a challenge, of course, for any actor at any age, I suppose. But especially at that age, that tender age. But they all seem very well adjusted. My experience with them, and they're all wonderful human beings, and they're very knowledgeable of where they come from, all of them. So that's they got a good handle on that. So anyway, I'm supposed to. This is kind of a funny aside. I probably should do it. In about 19 minutes, I have to go jury. I have to go jury a dance, kind of a gathering over in Yakima for the best Willie Jack costume. So if I'm not able to stay because I've been dragged off to be the judge and jury on the Willie Jack contest at the little gathering there in Yakima.
Lexi Gary, you must tell us who wins that. I'd love to see the winner.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
If hopefully I'm not the only judge. I'm not a very good judge of. But I did get to work with her, and we had a lot of fun. And she's quite the character. There's no doubt about that. And she's kind of reared in Saskatchewan, and comes from a very horse culture. Way of life and stuff, and real down home, big family of singers, tradition runs through their veins there. So it's, she comes from a great place, and she's very attached to her home and her people and her culture. So she's a big hit in the show, that's for sure. Thank you. I'm through talking.
Well, thank you, Gary, Mr. Farmer. It's truly an honor to have you here in our show. We started this a little while. We're all fans of Reservation Dogs. Definitely all of the cast. Uncle Brownie. I think you know everyone here. Shirley, Mark, Nia. We started doing this. Just loving the show. We thought we'd host a room after every episode. So it's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of good conversation. We invite everyone in the audience that want to come up and speak, talk about the episode. And gosh, I'm just so grateful you're here with us today for this episode, for this recap. I'm just like, wow. I'll just throw it to the other moderators. I want them to maybe say something or ask something before you have to leave. You're a busy person, but Cheryl Lee or Mark or Nia.
Sure. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. And Mr. Farmer, if you PTR, I put up a photo that I actually took with you out on the Navajo Nation at Tuba City.
Nice.
We were helping to open up the Cancer Center at the Cancer Center Foundation, Hopi Navajo Hopi Cancer Center Foundation. So I put that up there so you can see that at one point we were in the same space. So I really appreciate that you're here. Love your presence and what you bring to film, TV, media. It's so important that you're representing still and showing the younger generation how possible it is to still stay grounded, and yet you are projecting excellence on the big screen. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for showing up. And of course, I have tons of questions, but I'm going to pass it on to Mark so that he can get a little say-so in. That's all. This is Cheryl Lee. Or to whoever the next moderator would like to speak. Nia, Mark, go for it.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nia. I'm calling in from the ancestral homelands of the Diné, Apache, Wallapai, and Hopi here in Northern Arizona. I just want to say thank you to Gary for joining us. It's always an honor to have you and to listen to you. In every film you star in that I remember over the years, you're always the scene stealer. And so I just want to, I don't want to say fangirl, more like two-spirit fanning over you. So I'm a little nervous. So I will pass it on to Alex.
Hey everybody, this is Alex. I guess I don't have my regular picture up, so I got my picture with Elora and with Daniel up there right now. But yeah, if I cut out, I'm in California in the Central Valley in Fresno and Yokuts land, and it's election day for the governor's race. So I'm on my way out of work, dropping off my ballot. But I wanted to pop in just to talk and check in with everybody. And I know it was a really heavy episode, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who cried during the episode. But I also just wanted a quick moment when we get into it to just acknowledge really quickly that my theory was right from last week. So we had talked about some of that and some of the illusions in previous episodes about Elora's attachment to Daniel. But yeah, thank you for having me, everybody. Good to see you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Mark, are you there, Mark? You want to say greet Mr. Farmer or Tracy?
Do we want to do a plot recap?
Well, yes, we're going to get into that, but Mr. Farmer said he has to leave in about 20 minutes to judge the Willie Jack costume con. How awesome is that?
Contest ever.
Yeah, we should do one here and we all dress up. But yeah, before he leaves, maybe a couple
By
words.
the way, Lexi, your character, Brownie, tried to save Willie Jack's mom's life. And we learned the backstory coming from Kokaji, Bill Burr, who told the story about how Brownie fist fought Elora Dannon's mom's partner,
Right.
before they went off drinking and got into that wreck. And it sounds like it was an epic brawl that started on the inside and ended up on the outside, and he went all full Brownie on the guy, but ended up not coming out on top this time. And has Bill sitting talking with Elora, mourning the loss of her mom with her. Elora is dealing with her own loss as well in that very same moment. And I think that's the whole linchpin. That's the whole heart of the show. There's a lot of different artifices we can talk about that I'm really interested in. But this episode is, I know we got a lot of this series is humor on top of loss. But this feels like a really heavy helping of loss over humor, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's, I think that's, I remember back in the 70s when, I started acting and studying acting and all the plays that used to come from our communities that I remember were so heavy. It was just hard to read it. It was so heavy. I guess there was a few that broke through, but the one I remember most clearly, and the one I was most involved with, was Thompson Highway, and as a playwright, and it was almost like it was this necessary for us to, I know there's comic things that people say comedy, and I I just, kind of roll my eyes because there really is no difference between comedy and, especially for us. And so I feel, not that, I think a lot of the humor that came from Thompson's pieces, because the material was so heavy and so profound, was this kind of toxic humor that we as Indian nations have developed over a century of time. With all the experiences that we've witnessed and been a part of and fallen ourselves into. So, I think, laughing our way out of it has been, I'll never forget talking to a fellow who, during those Sandinista wars in Central America and Nicaragua, talking to a man who got kind of, a Mosquito Indian man who got tortured. And when he talks, it's very difficult to get him, it's very challenging to get him to talk about that. But when he does, he has this eternal smile on his face, and I'll just always remember that, that, it seems the more you suffer in life, sometimes you can't help but laugh. And sometimes that laughter takes you to toxic places along with everything else. But anyway, that's a weird answer, but
Oh, Ashte, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, Tracy. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey guys, this is Tracy. I'm coming to you from Pennsylvania, homelands of many nations, and I just wanted to tell all of you I have not watched this episode, so I was making a lot of noise when Mark was giving away all the plots and things like that because I've been very, very busy the past couple of days. But
I don't care about your schedule, Tracy. I don't give a shit.
So you guys enjoy and talk, and I just came in to see what was happening in this room. So I really got nothing to contribute tonight, but later I will. Later, you guys take care. Gary, family says hi, and we'll connect soon. Take care, peoples.
See you, Tracy. Thank you for stopping in.
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, I probably should depart for the Willie Jack contest. If I finish up early, I'll come back. But nice to see everyone.
All right.
Willie Jack for president of the world.
There you go.
She got my vote.
Yep, me too.
Thank you, Gary. Goodbye.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Lexi.
All righty. Wow. Let me see. Where's my sound effects?
What the heck? I feel all shy, like I didn't want to say.
I know, because it kind of felt a little bit awkward. It was like, I can't even. What am I going to do? Critique the show that you're on in front of you?
Hey, Thomas.
What do you?
I know this is the
Like,
first
there's only
time.
so much shit talking I can do directly at people. Like, if it was Sterling or Dallas or Bobby, I'd be like, "What the fuck's up with this, guys?"
At least you got your shot at Tracy. That's good.
But yeah. But was that awesome or what, man? Whoa.
That was pretty cool.
I love it.
I love Gary. I think he's one of the fucking coolest native actors ever. Like,
Uncle Brownie.
And that's one of the things that I love about this show. I don't know if like they already got some of the coolest mofos ever of all time, and is Martin Sizemore showing up in the next season? Like is like Choske Spencer? Like who isn't in this show that's going to show up? That's what I'm kind of wondering, because they got the young up and comers, and then they just got nothing but all stars.
Exactly.
Right. I agree. I don't know, but I like that he was talking about Thompson Highway. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He goes way back. I really, every time I see Gary Farmer, all I see is Fat Filbert. I want to say that, but I don't.
No, like, dude, Filbert leaving like the Hershey bar out there, Butte, is one of the most iconic moments of my life. Like, if I die, and the only image I have is me putting a chocolate bar at fucking Bear Butte, and then when I get to the other side, like, that wasn't actually you, that was actually Gary Farmer and Powell Highways. I'm like, fuck, same thing.
All right, now I know what to get you, Mark. Chocolate Hershey bar
A chocolate bar at Bear Butte.
at Bear Butte. Got it. I'm writing that down.
Daniel,
Dude, we should put a vending
Elora.
machine of nothing but Hershey chocolate bars at Bear Butte and sell them for like $10 a piece. And just call it the Filbert machine, and just underneath says, if you know, you know.
And then you got to roll down the hill to come back down.
Yeah, the tragic part.
Oh gosh, that was pretty cool.
It's so rocky. How did he survive?
Okay, Pete, go for it. How do you want to open this up? This was, I feel still kind of nervous, like intense.
I know, that's the first time I haven't heard you like speak a lot, or Cheryl Lee or Nia. I'm like, are you guys gonna talk?
Dude, I have so much to say, but
Yeah.
I kind of want to create space.
And I want to respect, yes. How cool is that? Judging a Willie Jack costume contest.
I'd say bring up Waylon. Who else we got down there?
I invited him. Hey, Cherish is here. I think she.
Hey, Cherish.
Yeah, bring up Cherish.
Yeah, Thomas. Hey, what's up, Thomas? We're still like starstruck. We had Gary Farmer on here, Uncle Brownie.
All got discombobulated.
I feel it. That's like I didn't want to come up on stage yet. I didn't know what to say.
Like my hands are kind of sweaty. Like
I just thanked him. Nia's a fan.
Like Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, but we'll start talking about the episode in a bit. But yeah.
Well, everyone says Navajos talk too much, so I refrain from talking.
I think everyone says Navajos talk too much shit. I don't think like regular conversation is okay.
No, that's just Shirley, not me.
Yeah, I was nervous for you guys in the audience. I was like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, so...
That was funny. Okay.
I kind of wanted to ask him, like, did you ever have an urge, like an uncontrollable urge to touch like Jarmusch's head, like hair? Like...
Why?
Well, he might...
Because it's all like spiky and white, and it's like stands 5 inches above his head. Like, you kind of just want to touch it.
But I'm not acting. I know Cheryl Lee, but is it? I don't know. Was it weird? He hasn't seen the episodes or some of them. Mr. Farmer
most
said
actors don't watch.
That's what themselves. I was asking. Like, that's what I'm question. Is that like you just act, right? It's your it's your job, but is it something? Yeah.
That is unusual. They do have I'm sure a cast party, and they maybe after the works they would show something or see it on Hulu. I don't know, but maybe he just doesn't work that way as an actor. Maybe he just
does this.
Well, the last room we were in, we were like, hey, let's talk about some fan theory and do some critique and critical theory. And he was like, I haven't watched the show, and I only read the script in front of me, so that's
perhaps
what I
when
know.
He comes back on after we get over this stage fright feeling. We can just bombard him with questions.
You're like, what the fuck, Gary?
Yeah.
Go watch the show.
Maybe he'll come back.
It's the first Indian TV show since Northern Exposure. What the fuck?
Maybe he'll come back after his Willie Jack
contest.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like podcasting. We don't like to hear our own voices. Maybe he doesn't like to see his own.
Actually, I think it's pretty common. I listened to a Sopranos podcast, and even the Sopranos cast people, they were so burnt out during the production, or they would get so into the material that afterwards they would watch it barely once, and then they don't watch it again. It's crazy. Maybe it's maybe they don't want to be all up in their head with how the finished product looks, or maybe scenes they cut, the editing. It's interesting.
Oh my God!
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say, I did a photo shoot, a video, and I had to be directed, and I was totally cool with it, except for the last 15 minutes where I pouted like a little punk ass bitch.
You would.
But oh, dude, Nia, you would have been embarrassed for me, like Lakota Warrior. Okay. You're gonna get your juice box in like 5 minutes. Settle the fuck down. I get it's hot and you have low blood sugar. How about you just soldier the fuck on for 5.5 minutes?
At least I
Anyway,
took a picture of the room so I can prove that he was on there.
Like the director wanted, like, do you want to see this back? And I was like, no, I actually never want to see any of this footage ever again. And if it never sees the light of day, I'm actually okay with that.
So, maybe that's the case because Uncle Brownie played this character who was basically, in his backyard digging up his weed. And that's not like, I don't know, maybe something he wants to really discuss, or these top actors have now been placed in these characters to play these parts that aren't so great. Maybe, I don't know. I'm stretching, but.
I always thought the jar thing was a weird detail of a strange. I'm still trying to think of the allegory to it. Like, why? What was it? About him. I see that he was kind of this tough warrior, figure, invincible and all that. But we saw a soft side. I mean, just great arc. I mean, the writing and everything is just so. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. Oh, that was incredible to hear him speak with you guys.
Well, the other side is the thing about it is it gets a little bit demystified and de-legendified because Brownie in this next episode was taken out by Elora Danin's mom's partner. And it, by all sounds, was an epic fight, but Brownie didn't win.
Right.
Waylon, really quick. Hey, Waylon, how's it going?
Hey, Waylon.
The original Waylon himself, welcome. It's good to see you on here, brother.
Oh, man, it's good to be seen. It is good to be seen. Let me tell you what. This was a heavy episode.
Yes.
And I am really glad that we're talking about, some lighthearted stuff because, I'll tell you what, it got me emotional. I'm going through some things myself in dealing with grief and trauma and things like that. And it really hit a lot of really good, well, not good, but it hit the feels. I mean, seriously, it was emotional. It was emotional to watch, and the character development, of course, is amazing. I mean, I'm in awe. Each episode just keeps getting better and better, and it's great. So it's fantastic to be back in the clubhouse. It is definitely a good day to be Indigenous. And Mana, holy crap, where is that voice from? Holy smokes. It's like the voice of God.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, I'm visiting everyone from Hawaii, but I'm not Hawaiian native. I'm a Samoan Tahitian. So it's a weird thing. Am I an immigrant or am I indigenous? I don't know. We're still we have a colonial history ourselves, but it's not in sort of an indigenous or native, at least in my mind.
You're indigenous as fuck, and you're like an islander on an island. What do you like?
As fuck, hell yeah.
Like, I don't. Oh, I'm Lakota, but I happen to live in Navajo Nation. Am I indigenous? Yeah, I'm just surrounded by these short fuckers.
But yeah, it's interesting though. Like the anthropologists would look at other Polynesian groups to try to figure out how ancient Hawaiians were. Other than anthropologists studying Native American groups to try to see how the culture is gradually removed. Or that's just an interesting parallel. But yeah, it's a weird identity crisis when it comes to indigenous or not. But I really enjoy the series, and I'm grateful that you guys are doing this for each episode. Incredible. Thank you all.
Mark, correction, short, smart fuckers.
You tell Nia.
Have you ever been to Chinle? I think there's some people who could possibly contest that.
Alrighty.
I'm short and I'm smarter than you, Mark.
Mouses?
Did he just say mouses? Did he just say mouses?
He's never gonna live that down.
Hey.
But mouses is appropriate to kill me yet. Oh, here come the rooster. All right, back to the show.
Yeah.
Back to the show.
Hey,
We
Bill
just
Burr.
listened
Is
to
that
Gary.
is that the guy? Is that Bill Burr? Is that what his name is?
Yes.
The
And
Bill Burr.
I'm like, wow, he did a great job. And yeah,
This was actually
so
this was
shocked.
him testing his limits of his actor chops. Like his comedic chops were like solid. They're like gold bar Olympic standard. But
facts.
when it comes to drama, the dramatic, this was a stretch for him. And like he didn't nail, like, let's be real, he didn't nail the Oklahoma accent.
Oh no.
And like, you know,
It's American accent.
he wasn't like I'm from he wasn't like I'm from Anadarko. Like he didn't have it down. But he had a general southern rural accent that he has as part of his repertoire that he just did a very light version of to get placed inside their universe.
Right. And normally I don't like Bill Burr. I don't like his comedy. He's just whiny and he's just all, that kind of guy. But
You're allowed to be quiet whenever you're ready.
I found a new respect for Bill Burr.
He's one of my favorite comics. I am totally a Bill Burr fanboy. And he also had Sterling. He also had Sterling on the podcast on last Monday. Pardon?
Just a timeout, y'all. I had no idea who Bill Burr was. I know he played a role on Breaking Bad, but I never even saw Breaking Bad either.
I don't know who he is.
Wait, he was on Breaking Bad?
Who is he?
Yeah, he had a recurring role.
The connection.
Oh yeah, him and Huel. That was Huel's buddy.
But I had no idea who this, and everybody kept talking about who's Bill Burr? So this is my first introduction about who this guy is, and of course, going online and typing in Bill Burr. So there you go.
I need to Google
just so you
him.
know, if people in the audience maybe wanted to know.
Just for clarification, it's not Bill Baggins either.
You could call him that, and he probably wouldn't mind.
Hey,
I was shocked.
Hi, Cherish.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, wait, is that Bill Burr? I had no idea. I had to Google it right away while I was watching. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was thinking, like, maybe he and Taika Waititi, they're connected through the Disney Star Wars stuff? Because I know Bill Burr's in the Star Wars stuff, yeah?
No, he's on 2 seasons of Mandalorian.
I had to look.
Yeah.
Hey, Cherish.
Cool.
Let Cherish speak, y'all.
Oh, that's Bill Burr.
My
I'm
phone off the
sorry.
grid for 10 days out in the bush. It was like a very interesting social experience. I was fine. I just like ran everything through Microsoft Teams, but I didn't have a phone. But I got a moose, so that's great. I have a whole bunch of work to do, but I didn't even watch season 7 yet. So
episode 7.
Sorry, episode 7, yeah. And it came out on Disney Plus, so that's good. And yeah, I don't know. Things are good. I'm just making an epic dinner here. You know those frozen vegetables? Carrots, the peas, the corn. Did up some of that. Made some brownies. Eating some sausages. Some rice. Yeah, just doing, everything's great, really.
That's awesome. And thank you for mentioning the room on News. We had Andrew Lee in the room. He had to leave early, but that was awesome. He has like 80,000 followers. He was in here earlier, so that was pretty awesome. But thank you, everyone. So what did you think of this overall episode? California Dreaming, like Waylon said, it really hit me in the feels, especially that one scene with Elora and Daniel towards the middle, kind of. So man.
What can we say? It was so intense. And what I did like was that they were placing in humor throughout, constantly doing this balance of heaviness, but with storytelling and trying to keep it going. And I think it worked. It was really intense for sure. There was with the part that you're speaking of, as they go off to the country bar, that behavior that in episode 6 that Daniel has with Willie Jack and her dad out in the forest, he exhibits the same thing in this bar. and it's, you just know it. And I think the opening scene out of this episode kind of just like set the stage for everything. And that was when they're coming down the alley and they're friends, but it's the yelling in the house.
Right.
That's where kind of like everybody kind of has an idea.
Had an outsider's feel to it. Is anybody? I don't know if anybody even knows what the outsiders are, but anyways,
Yeah, we know what the outsiders are. It's a very famous movie.
Well, nobody knew who Bill Burr was. I mean, come on. Yeah.
I know these fucking cultural degens. We're hanging out whaling. We're in a room with a bunch of degens.
Degens. I'll tell you what. Well, it's our way of life.
I had to Google it.
But
Stay gold, Pony Boy. Stay gold.
But seriously, I mean, you know, on a serious note, extremely serious note, you know, a lot of us can relate to that, right? And even some of us may have experienced it, but the emotions that I felt seeing Daniel, seeing the character of Daniel go through what he goes through. You know, I've been just to be completely open and transparent with everyone. I've been at a healing center for the most part, dealing with some grief, some trauma stuff, and relapse prevention. And you know, happy to say I graduated up to a level of a little bit more freedom, and I'm super grateful. I got my brother Tom here, there's a connection here between our tribe, MHA, Mandan Hiraz and Rick Raw, and the center where I'm at. And so we're really blessed to be able to have this place where we can come here and do some inner work. And so you know, it got pretty heavy. I mean, you know, and my uncle passed from the same way that Daniel passed, and you know, and so it was really heavy, and but it was necessary. You know, it's a necessary thing for that story to be told, because I think so many of us really have been through that, or maybe not experienced it on that level of Elora. But so I just, you know, I do want to welcome Tom, brother Tej. So good to see you. So good to be able to hear your voice here today, to this evening, and you know, things like that. I just wanna lighten the load a little bit. You know, what'd you think of the episode?
Oh, okay. Say, thank you for giving me some time here. Say good evening to everybody. You know, here, and everybody seems like nobody doesn't want to talk too much about the episode, and I've been listening to some of the comments here, and say thank you to those who opened this room here so people can listen in, or however. My name's Tom Plentychief, TJ Plentychief, for those that know me. I'm a member of the Mandan Hidatsa Rikra Nation. I reside on our homelands. Currently, right now, at this time and moment, I'm in traditional Arikara territory at the Grand River Casino by Wakpala, working on an Earth Lodge in McLaughlin, South Dakota, about 40 miles west of here.
Oh, dog patch.
So an Earth Lodge is a traditional Mandan Hidatsa Arikara home structure. But anyway, you know, when I got to the, you know, I was pretty surprised. It was kind of a heavy episode, like everyone's been saying, you know, and I think we could all kind of identify with a lot of those things. But you know, one thing that stood out for me, man, it was the teacher, the coach. He got the phone call, and then you know, I mean, I don't know how many of you have kids or whatever, but I have kids, and some of my kids have or they have had chemical dependency. So when he was talking about meth, oh, they're on meth and there's nothing I can do. And, that girl, Elora Donnan or whatever, was saying, well, what are you going to do? I said, nothing. Just going to go home. I kind of, I understand that part. Some of my children are in addiction. So that's a pretty tough thing, And then at the end, they had the guy got that girl's light fixed, and well, they were trying to figure out how much they're going to pay and what do we owe you. We are not here for the meth heads at the junkyard or whatever. We are not here for riches. $20. Then the guy said, and a tip. So I thought that was kind of crazy. Kind of funny when that guy was saying that, because he always tries to be like a big Indian or something, or have some kind of philosophical some saying or something. Speak freely, or whatever. Walk in beauty. He was gonna have some kind of little saying.
I actually thought Tom, before that scene, I thought there was this like kind of brilliant moment of like LA comics like teasing each other, because like Bill Burr, who's like a famous stand-up comic, and Kirk Fox, who is a well-known but not quite famous stand-up comic, and he was like, you should do stand-up comedy, and Kirk's like, too many joke stealers. And so it was just like these two LA comics just eyeing each other out, giving like a wink and a nod on this weird show. I thought that was a cool moment between like two white dudes throwing down.
Yeah, I seen that too. I thought, yeah, that was pretty interesting. Hey, it's Gary Farmer. Hi, Gary. And then then the other part, man, the part that really resonated too, man, with that episode was that when that girl, that Elora Donnan, she found that boy. Because remember, he was like, he didn't want to go home because they were fighting. And then, man, she found him, and the scream and the wail that she had, man, this like, you can't, like you got to be native to know that one. You know what I mean? It's like, holy man, it just, that like really sounded real, man. It's like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So that's a tough one right there. But, it had to be, it's part of the story, because, I wondered too, because they were having those memorials and, always talking about that kid that went on, and I was kind of wondering what happened to him, then now we've seen it. So kind of had to be said, I guess,
I kind of always felt they alluded to it. Like I always felt it was coming to this point. Like I knew it was coming, to be honest.
I do believe we were talking about that in episodes 5. Is that what we kind of made a prediction that was the case it was going to go towards?
Yeah.
But that scene you were talking about where they go and fix a tail light at the junkyard with Candy Boy, and I don't know. I have a clip. Do you want to hear that part? Because there's a part that's really interesting to me.
Fire.
Yeah. Play it. Let's do it. Pick it out.
Hopefully it comes through. No, it's not coming through.
Not coming through.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Garrett Bobson, as I live and breathe. What brings you to the wrong side of the tracks?
Oh, Kenny boy. We need a tail light for this old hunker.
Yatea, Lord Dannon. That's hello in Dene. I mean, actually, it means it is good, but I go with hello.
Hi.
Good to see you.
How the hell you know each other?
Sold us a stolen chip truck.
Oh, crazy Kenny. I always said you could make it as a stand-up comedian.
Too many joke thieves out there. I'm not going to do that.
Were you in a shootout?
Driver's test.
Parallel parking. An innocent girl, a harmless driver. What could possibly go wrong? That's the tagline from License to Drive.
Oh, okay.
The second of the two Corys trilogy.
Sure.
Even though they worked together many times after Dream a Little Dream, all their subsequent movies went straight to video. Rest in peace, Blondie.
You can get this done in an hour, right?
Well, we can definitely start it, make the effort.
Okay, so that part, which I thought was really interesting, because we all know what happened to Corey Haim in his life, right? That was also part of what the storyline was talking about, suicide. So I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, I think
that really makes sense.
I think that whenever we got a suicide, and especially that they've given they only really alluded to his actual life, and we only see the surface behaviors. It's like, yeah, there was a deep, deep hurt that happened. And how deep the show wants to go into that, Like, we got one episode left, but we got another season, so we'll see.
Hey Gary, welcome back. Is the contest over? I know Mark has some questions he wants to ask you.
Yeah, I couldn't. They only gave me a link via Messenger or something, and I tried to get it, but I don't have the latest Messenger, and then I tried to download it, and blah, blah, blah. I tried my best.
Did you ever have an uncontrollable urge to touch Jim Jarmusch's hair?
No, I can't say that I have.
Told you.
Now I'm the
Yes,
fucking
he does.
weirdo. Great. Thank you, Machine. Appreciate that, Gary.
Did that a long
I
time
thought that was a given, Mark. I thought we all knew that.
Gary didn't know, and now he does. All right.
Jim's a pretty guy. He's a great guy. He actually, after I did that film, I came home and I just, it was 95. So I started developing all the radio licensing, and we went and got APTN after that. And Jim, he was so supportive because I knew APTN needed a kind of a hit show, and I just stole from Johnny Carson and made them their first kind of variety show. And I remember Jim coming up, and I had a lot of the, the acting in the film. We tried to write comedy, and we were producing skits, and I had a team of writers, and it was back in the late '90s, and Jim always was so supportive, and he used to come up to Toronto for whatever. At one time, he was going to write a kind of Sid and Nancy story for a couple of us, and it didn't. It kind of turned in Only Lovers Left Alive in a way, which is a very, sometimes he starts in our community and then he blossoms out. But he's been a fascinating character to be involved with since that time in my career that I worked with him a couple times. And we spend so many interesting hours kind of debating and telling stories to each other and talking about things. And he's one of my dearest friends in this crazy business, and you can always count on him for something special when we do get together. So hats off to Jim Jarmusch.
Jim Jarmusch.
He's one of my favorite directors, and that's why I kind of have a odd fixation with the gent.
Gary, when you left, a lot of us were just in awe that you had showed up, that we were so quiet. And after you left, we took a breath and started realizing we had sweaty palms because we were so starstruck with your presence. And we had to laugh because a lot of us are not as quiet, and we just were so quiet. So we wanted to let you know that. But I think we kind of warmed up, and we're ready to go at this. So whoever wants to go ahead and start getting into this with him, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, this is Lance 4-star. I'm up on the Fort Peck Reservation. I've never been on this on Clubhouse, or haven't even heard of this program, but I received a messenger message from Gary. I've known Gary for a little while now, and it just happened to be that we invited Gary up here as a community up in Wolf Point on the Assiniboine and Sioux Reservation to help us bring some awareness to the suicide problem. So it really, I have a great amount of appreciation and gratitude for Gary inviting me to be on to listen to y'all, and I really appreciated the show at the very end when you guys had when the show had actually. When I say you guys, it's because I don't know who's behind everything. But I know this is a discussion about the episode, and I've watched it about 1.5 times. But at the very end, I really did take a screenshot of the 1-800-273-TALK 8255, and we're dealing with suicide on on many levels for the past 10 years. So Gary, when he showed up to our community, I showed him around a little bit, but for the most part, he kind of, he immersed himself into our community and just visited these places. And then when it came to our community event, Gary sat down, and Gary, if you remember, we were having troubles getting the video to run and all these things, but he sat down, and there was a room full of different healthcare professionals and people from around the country that were coming in to have a dialogue about the suicide problem, because there was a number of suicides in our community. And Gary really did. He captured kind of the essence of what was going on. And, I remember taking him back to Wilson to catch his plane. I think it was at night, and he had seen all of the, the plumes of, or the fires coming off of the natural gas runoff or whatever that's called in the Wilson, the Bakken oil area there in North Dakota. And I remember him commenting that it was surreal. So this episode, it really did hit home when we talk about methamphetamine, of course. I think for the past 10 years, we've definitely seen a rise in that with the extraction industry being so close to the Fort Peck Reservation. There's definitely missing and murdered Indigenous people issues. And, we just recently got done with the fight against the Keystone XL pipeline. So that was something that we invited Gary back to speak to the Wolf Point kids. And he was, just out of blue, he said, yeah, sure. And it was great to see him again, to hear him again. I think I seen him down at Standing Rock at the Prairie Knights Casino there when everybody was evacuated from the Oshatu Shakwa. And then I remember seeing him shaking his hand. But yeah, me too. I think it was just, we're all very honored to see you, Gary, and it's always a blessing to have any communication with you, and especially to see you up on my TV screen and saying, "Hey, there's Gary." It's just a great, I feel like you're our Nekshi or Lekshi, our uncle. So he's, it's like we're seeing a relative up there, and like we really know you. At least I do. I feel like I do, but I probably don't. But yeah, I just wanted to say that this episode really did hit home when the father was looking for his daughter. It just right away I knew. I told my wife meth, it was methamphetamine, and now they're doing fentanyl around here, smoking fentanyl and doing it with meth, and it's just crazy because the issues that the reservation dogs are dealing with, they really do hit home, and it transcends the borders of our reservations. It doesn't matter what reservation we're talking about. This one is definitely the one that the Reservation Dogs is set in. Applies to all of us. I feel like it, and I'm way behind in the times. I've been back on the Fort Peck Reservation since 2004, so it's almost been 20 years since I've lived out in mainstream society. So I don't really know too much about what's going on out in the world other than up here in Northeast Montana. But just wanted to thank you for your time and letting me talk. Phenomenal.
Thank you, Lance. It's nice to see you again. One of my dearest friends, of course. I had with this the recent loss of William Yellow Robe, originally from the Fort Peck community, and great playwright.
Wait, William died?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a couple of months ago.
I didn't know.
Also, the late great Minnie Two Shoes. She was at Wounded Knee, and she got kind of responsible for the publishing of the newspaper there in the community over the years, and she was a real. I can't say I miss a lot of people, of course, that have moved on, but that girl, we were just partners in crime for so many efforts in the publishing and the broadcasting efforts, in terms of, she was really special. And so I always hold dear Fort Peck and, of course, your efforts with education, Lance, and all the work you've done. Graduate of the Institute of American Indian Arts. I'm not sure if you made it through, but he certainly was out there in Santa Fe. in the early days.
Oh
And,
yeah. On the College of Santa Fe campus.
Yeah. So it's nice to see and hear you.
This club, Good Day to be Indigenous, welcome. We're doing a Reservation Dogs recap. We've been doing this for the past few episodes. It's been really fun discussion. Today we're honored to have Gary Farmer here today, one of the actors on Reservation Dogs. Uncle Brownie is here. Very honored to have him here today. And along with our moderators and welcoming Mia to the stage. Welcome, Lance, to Clubhouse too. It's really nice to see new people on here. Welcome, Mia. Did you like the episode? And also Lynette, welcome to the stage. And anyone else that wants to come up, say a few words or discuss how'd you like the episode? We're discussing episode 7, California Dreaming. But welcome, Mia and Lynette.
Hey, Mia, do you want to go ahead? Or I had a question, comment, and stuff, but I'll let Mia go ahead first.
Hi, thanks for having this recap, Pete. I just wanted to say, did anybody else relate to when the dad was saying, when you come across the animal, you just hit it straight on? And I cannot tell you how many times I heard my dad say that to me driving back home, you just hit it. But that's I love this episode. I love watching Reservation Dogs, and I'm going to pass it to Lynette.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you so much for having these rooms and these discussions and these clubs and everything, just anything that has to do with Native or Indigenous culture. It's really helpful for me, for someone with Native blood, but not really, a big tie. And I'm just so thankful that the show has been really, really great for me, just to kind of understand more and see. But I had a question actually for Tom. Oh my gosh, I think he left. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I literally had a question for him, but maybe someone else can answer this. He was mentioning that there was a part in just this last episode where she was crying when she found, I forgot his name, but when she found him, where he was hanging, and he said something along the lines of the way that she screamed and the noises that she made. I know that that's not something I necessarily have ever heard, but it really, really, really shook me. And it's something that he said that I guess the way that she cried was a specific way. So I was just looking for just an understanding of what exactly did he mean by that, because it definitely did affect me, but I don't know why.
I can take a shot at that, but I just think...
Thank you, cousin uncle. Such a great job.
My nature to speak up, I guess. But, I think because anyone that's kind of born to a reservation or experience reservation life or urban reservation life, it's kind of the same thing. We kind of grow into, as a Native person, you grow into a world that is not necessarily represented outside the four walls of your home or the boundary lines of your community or the boundary of where the ceremony took place in your life, But a lot of our young, dealing with so much, especially with, they got to hear now. I mean, it just made so much sense to me that, we have to not only live through a lot of travesty in our lives, experiencing as young people and being, coming from another language, often a fractured language, and then you hear so much of this, but you don't get the whole picture sometimes, or you're somewhat culturally deprived because the ceremonial way of life has kind of left the community. And so, we find ourselves being kind of, kind of used to that almost. The suicide has a place in our community, and we don't appreciate that at any level. It's just a fact and way of life, because they don't feel like they don't feel like, I mean, the way it's been treated, I mean, until recently, that's why it's so profound, this series, for so many people, is because we've never been exposed to our story on cinema, on TV, on people can watch it, sort of, and that's brand new. But suicide is such a, I mean, the fact that they got an 800 number after the show, just to help people realize that if, the tendency's there, and it's there for our people. We face it all the time, and we have a higher incidence than, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 10 times more than the average American dealing with suicide. And it's I think so much because the world is so economic, and we don't fit into that picture, and we're just not counted. And we don't seem to matter to most of North America, and all that we've lost and suffered. It just is. It's real for us. So we know that heartache. We know that pain, and so that sound she made is, and I haven't even seen the episode, but I know exactly what he meant. Is that it's present in us. It really is, and when called upon. As the young actor portraying it, has experienced a lot of things in her young life. Even Oka, which was in her community in 1990, got invaded by the Canadian Army, and saw a lot of anger, a lot of politicizing of issues, and she's kind of grew up through that. So she's a very strong young actress, that one. So she was able to perform that easily. I hope that helped at any level.
Yeah, definitely, in lots of parallels, and I get it. Thank you so much.
Lynette, when I saw that moment in the show where she sees him, when she sees Daniel, and Elora Danan runs over, and it really is a powerful moment, because a lot of us have family or friends, like we've said, that have experienced this pain. Always so young, and it's an epidemic, just as a pandemic. One of the things that I was thinking about was a book that's a world famous book by Dale Carnegie. He wrote a book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, and within one of these chapters, he brought up an interesting fact, and it was what he said is that most Americans commit suicide each year, then die from the 5 most common communicable diseases, and why. And so the answer that he writes in this book is largely due to worry. That's what I thought about when I think about our tribal communities, is how much worry our young people are going through, trying to navigate in a world where it's really still not Western mainstream society. We are still tied to our Indigenous beliefs and culture, and then to try to fit into 2 different worlds it's so frustrating, especially during a time right now with the pandemic. But these young people are not finding an outlet for having their questions answered. And I think the worry that most people go through, they're seeing their families worry, whether if it has to do with money or jobs, no jobs. It's a constant, in Indian country, poverty is there, and it's so heavy that after seeing that scene, you want to do something, or at least try to figure out how can we talk about this in an intellectual way, or to bring more awareness about it. But I really appreciate that this show is doing that, and having us have this discussion, as hard as it can be. But I just wanted to share that. So this is Cheryl Lee.
Hey, this is Alex. I think too, part of it is with that reaction that she had, and I think a lot of us can relate to this is that there are so many of these moments where we have family members or cousins or these people that we know are close. And you see Elora go through that the whole episode. You've seen it through the whole series so far, that she's worried in the back of her mind. She knows, what is possible for him. And I think that that's something that I can relate to, at least, is that feeling of you see something and you hope and you hope and you hope and you try, and you see her try to be there for him. And then it's the, what she had been fearing in the back of her mind for who knows how long. And I think a lot of us have had those experiences with different family members and friends who, we just hope that that's not going to happen. And then one day it does. And so it's, for me, when she found him, that was what was really emotional for me. Was while I haven't been in that specific scenario, I've had that same fear in interactions, months or years leading up to when something finally, that final thing happens. So that was what it was reminiscent of to me. I don't know if anyone can relate to that.
This is Nia. Yeah, that scene was hard to watch. I wasn't expecting it to be so graphic, even though it wasn't that graphic. But mostly because I have two younger cousins who left the world in the same way, within a year apart. And so I just wish, my only critique was, I wish they would have allowed us to sit in that grief a little longer. I just felt like she came back to reality and met with humor so quickly that it was a little off-putting. But I guess that what Gary said earlier, comedy is good medicine, but which I agree with. But I wish in that particular scene we could have sat in that such a raw and hard moment just a little longer without a quick humor line right after. But that's just me being picky.
It's a valid point.
Yeah, this is Lance again. I just wanted to as I've been listening at, the series is kind of, it kind of revolves around this one issue, the loss of this young man, and the decision of the reservation dogs, the kids, to escape from the grief and the loss, to go to California. So everything that they're doing, from robbing the Flaming Hot Cheetos van, taking that and getting it stripped at the salvage yard, and everything is kind of revolved around this one single incident that they're all dealing with. And even though it's a year later, like when they're flashing back to the original, I guess the point of controversy, or the point of the controversy that's in their life, their chaos. This really is kind of what the whole, to me, when I think about the entire series up to this point, that's kind of the thing that's been in the background. So this episode is inevitable, and I think that the scene where she had discovered their friend, and if you excuse me, I think his name's Daniel. Yeah, my wife had she watches it with me every Sunday night, right when it comes out. But when Daniel passes away, and she finds him, there's just so many, right when you guys were, right when the young lady was talking about that feeling that you get when you discover somebody. We have first responders, we have people from our community, from here on the Fort Peck Reservation, at least, that I've heard that, there's a first responder that has, responded to about 50 suicides, completions and attempts. And it's like, it just never gets easier. There's a Navy SEAL, a former Navy SEAL, that's law enforcement officer for the Fort Peck tribes, and he basically quit his job. He doesn't want to be law enforcement anymore because of a really bad suicide, the scene that he had to go to. So it really is. It's one of those shocking things, and kind of that, when Elora, when she was crying and when she was screaming, that's one of the most primal. It's like it's something that's just gut wrenching, and when you hear her cry like that, it just tears at your heart, because you know, or you've been through it, or of people who have been through a relative who's gone sideways or has completed suicide. And it's like, the biggest thing that I remind our young people is that suicide is a decision to, I think how we said it was a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So a lot of the times the temporary problems that our young people deal with, they decide to suicide. They decide to go out and complete. And a lot of the times it has something to do with illicit substances, with getting drunk or doing drugs, and so it's all kind of centered around that. But I just wanted to add that as I was listening to everybody. Thank you again.
Hey peeps, this is Tracy. I got a chance to finally watch this episode. I'm not sure if you guys know it's actually shorter than all the rest. I'm not sure if anybody noticed that, but the other comment, based on Lance's observations, is when you think about the setting for the film, right, or the series, it's in Oklahoma, and the irony of Elora Danan opening up to a white guy, right, a white male, is also something that I think, in a way, it exposes the humanity of both this native female, right, and this white male. And you think about the dichotomies that exist in Oklahoma for native, non-native relationships, right? The Sooner State, it was the white people who got to the area, in this idea of, they had to get there. They had to get that land claim. They had to do this and that, hence the Sooners. So you think about what's happened historically, and you think about possibly what's going on in Harjo's mind about this idea of Indian-white relationships in rural Oklahoma, and the reality of growing up with white people is the reality for these communities in Oklahoma, right? They can't escape it. It's just the fact that what colonization has brought upon them. And you think about the white guy's story about Elora Danan's mother, right? And I think the words were, it sucks. And he uses the word fuck in terms of trying to garner the feelings of losing somebody he grew up with. And he brings that humanity of friendship into that scene. And it's not about Indian or being about white, it's about being human beings, about being good relatives. In that way, he shows his humanity, that I lost your mother. I lost this because they were drinking. And I told, I'm telling you now, that's what happened, is because she was, alluding to the story of what happened, right? And we hear about Uncle Brownie's involvement, and so yeah, I think it captures it perfectly, and like that humor part that comes out, I think that's, Ania pointed that out as well. In times of pain, that humor is always there, to comfort those individuals, to give them strength. And I think that when you're talking about the humanity of Indian people, Indian humor is at the forefront of a lot of things. When we're suffering, when we're in pain, we disguise it, and you think about all the scenes that have existed already in this short series of how humor was used to disguise the pain that Daniel was going through, right? At first, he didn't want to country dance, but I guess he he couldn't get enough of it, right? I mean, yeah. So that's just my take. This is Tracy.
All my native people stand up. All my native people. Yeah.
Hi, this is Neil. Good evening, everybody. I started watching Reservation Dogs from the beginning and had a lot of fun. And for me personally, each episode gets darker and heavier. And this episode, 7, has been the hardest to watch, but also still funny. As a suicide survivor, the episode, there's been a lot of things in life, in art and film and music, that have made me feel grateful to have survived all of the attempts. And this episode, and watching Indian people on TV, I got to see firsthand what it would look like or sound like if somebody had found me. And I do agree with Nia, transitioning out of that scene into the next one, the next connecting scene, and, making a joke that was abrupt for sure. But I really enjoyed Elora's last line where she tells him what Chokochi means. And throughout the episode, when they had first brought it up, I was like, I know that word. And I couldn't place it. But it's something my grandma, used to say on our way out from church, or leaving the house to go somewhere. She would say, go Chokochi before we leave. And I'm just so happy that Gary showed up and is offering his insight. That's really great. And oh God, I have no idea what this last episode is going to be about, but I just really appreciate Sterling and his vision and what he's doing. And it's it's hard, but I still love it. And this is Neil. I'm done.
Love you, Neil.
Thanks for sharing, Neil.
Yeah, Neil, thank you for that. Hey, everybody. Good evening for new friends on the stage that I haven't met yet. So I'm coming in late because I was watching the episode. And so I just have a question. So, what do you think when Elora was sort of reliving those moments, do you think that because I wasn't clear on this, do you think that was her doing it herself, or was she sharing those stories with Coach? Like, was it, because we went through, like, we were going through it and getting the story right, but I just wasn't clear on that part. So did I miss something? I don't know. Or was she just sort of reliving that, imagining that, in her head, I guess, is where I was wondering.
I think they're flashbacks for the audience, looking into her memories.
Okay. And Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when I was watching it, I think that she's been doing that the whole time, right? I think that you've seen that she's very clearly distracted, very obviously processing and figuring out if she's going through, and I think that every episode we've seen her, but we haven't been clued into what she's reliving, and so I think that it was just some insight into kind of where she has been this whole time.
This is Shirley, and I agree, Alex. Definitely flashbacks into her life, and the part where Daniel is that scene, that heavy scene. She's still also processing with Coach. He's sharing with her what happened to her mother because she never knew, and so I mean, this is a lot of stuff a teenager would have to take on, and it tells a story of what's going on in these communities. So very heavy, definitely, and she has to be very strong to be able to process all this information and still try to survive at the same time. This is Shirley.
Yeah, just in that thought of her sort of reliving that, her flashback to herself, I was just thinking about, when if I had to put it into a word, it'd be loneliness, right? Like you think about, just that and her sort of going through those moments herself, but like on a larger scope within our communities and our young people, like having to live those moments and feel alone or going through those moments alone. And so that was just sort of my reflection. I didn't when it ended, and it just ended, and it was a lot of feelings going on, but I think that was one word that sort of jumped out at me.
So I don't know if anybody else wanted to talk about other parts of this episode, but the one thing that I thought was interesting was when she's doing the driver's test, and she's failed it multiple times, but the driving backwards scene, what is it called?
The parallel parking?
Parallel parking.
That was pretty funny.
Thank you so much. And she can't get it, and she breaks down, and Coach is like, calm down, and she's like, no one taught me how to, and she's crying. So he gets out, but then she's faking it. She's acting like and suckers him in and to try to back into that. That was a tight space that nobody could have made. So I thought that was hilarious in that regard.
Speaking about the humor, I just thought the idea of the Indian car or the res car was funny because a majority of us know and have been in a res car. So I really appreciated that element of the story.
I laughed at the line about 4 being a sacred number. So when I came on stage, I was gonna crack a joke, but then somebody else followed me, so it wasn't applicable. I was gonna say something along the lines of like 14, like 4 being a sacred number.
Funny, and all that Sonic inside the car, and the hot Cheetos in the glove compartment. You guys notice that?
Hey Pete, can you repeat that?
Oh, I was just saying, when they got in the car, there was so much like Sonic bags and cups inside the floorboards, and then when they opened up the glove compartment, you could see some of those hot Cheeto bags still in there.
Yeah, I missed that myself.
Oh, and also in the beginning, you have a dining table. I thought that was funny.
Oh, the one that has laundry on it.
Hey, did y'all talk about the scene where they're all walking back and the friends kind of split because they have to go home and do other things, but Daniel hears I think it's his parents fighting. Did you guys already talk about that scene yet?
No, we haven't. We're just kind of jumping around.
We kind of brought it at the very beginning.
Okay. And you think about that, right? I'm sure that everybody here on stage, this is just an assumption, I would say at least 5 people here, if not more, encountered that growing up, right? And And that's also like the humanity part of this whole thing, is that we could relate as Indigenous peoples. And I'm just not saying that that happens to Indigenous peoples. It happens to everyone, right? You come along and you just don't feel like going home. And Daniel talks about, after that bar scene, after they get in, they're done dancing, he's like, oh, I'm going home. And what's the one thing he mentions where home's at? Everywhere. Everywhere's home for him.
Yeah.
So I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I believe that's the last part of that. The previous episode when he talks to Leon, I believe, and it's raining that night. When they're putting out that corn.
The feed corn, yes. Yes, Pete.
Yeah, just reflecting. Go ahead, Shirley.
So, that message that Tracy was talking about, that domestic violence does not just hit Indigenous communities. It's all spectrums of families do experience this. And the scene where Coach is going to get his daughter, and even within his own family, his daughter is experiencing, dealing with meth and dealing with a lifestyle that's not, where of course all families would want them to be. And he brings in the gun and he shoots away and hits the kneecap or hits the leg of the guy that she's with. And he's trying to find her as a parent. So I liked that inclusion of okay, we're still seeing white people still go through this too, as well as Native people in the same community. So that was the connection.
And just the irony too, in that scene that you're talking about, Shirley, the fact that he recants this idea of, I raised her when she was this, I did this. Right, you see Laura Dana's face just yearning for that. And you think about, a lot of Indigenous communities where there's fatherless, kids. And that idea of, Sterling Harjo pointing that out, it's epidemic, just not in Native communities, everywhere. It's everywhere where, men have to stand up and take that responsibility of being, the best fathers they can be in so many words, I guess you could say. But he highlights it there at that point. Why do you think so?
This is Mia, but Tracy, he also says, I did all these things to protect her. And then when she grows up, she makes these other choices. And he can't protect her anymore.
But he had a gun. I guess he's still trying to, in so many words.
But he can't prevent her from making those other choices.
We don't want.
So I guess so. This is Shirley. I'm just still contemplating the whole, like, how our communities end up in this situation, and I can't help but keep thinking about how our society is structured, and the need for being productive. It lacks in some communities where people then have to find other things to occupy themselves, or they just, during World War I, World War II, there was this industrial age of building and people had jobs and they did things, and that empowerment of feeling functional and contributing to society kind of uplifted communities. And as soon as those structures fall, the lack of not feeling like you're contributing seems to always be a part of this story. And so in Indian country, a lot of these communities, it's just so stricken with poverty. And it behooves me to understand why our tribal communities, our leaders, are not still even addressing this to where they can help. And I'm going to just speak again from my perspective as a member, tribal citizen of the Navajo Nation. Our nation is so large, but yet these issues still never get discussed on a daily basis, and the emphasis of our leadership is failing. That we're losing our people, so it's disappointing. It's very sad. This is Shirley.
Yeah, Cheryl Lee, this is Lance Four-Star again up in Fort Peck. I wanted to just briefly comment on that. I know that there's candidates who will not back the missing and murdered Indigenous people, missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, men, boys issue due to the fact that it's something that won't get them reelected. And unfortunately, we perpetuate that in our own political systems when it comes to the issue of suicide. I don't believe that somebody's, there's many champions in Indian country that are in leadership positions, champions for the issue of suicide prevention, and just the issue is it's something that it's really hard for people to talk about. That's why this series and this issue is so important. I believe that what Mr. Harjo's done to be able to bring this to the forefront, and these type of conversations and dialogue are great. Thank you.
This is Nia. I just wanted to. Oh, she left. I just wanted to add to what Nia was talking about when she shared her vulnerability. I just wanted to add in that growing up queer wasn't always easy, and I've certainly had my moments of ideation. But fortunately, and I think this is what Shirley is commenting on, is I was privileged to grow up in the city, and I love school. So I had after school programs that I involved myself excessively and overachieving and whatnot. So I had that purpose to stay around because as a survivor of sex abuse and bullying, I could have been easily one of those statistics. And queer Indigenous people are 3 times more likely than non-LGBTQ youth to take their own lives. So I hope that in season 2, the creators introduce a tear spirit character or queer individual. I know it's sort of alluded to, it's sort of connected, touched upon with Willie Jack's character in that they are androgynous, but it would be nice to see two-spirit Indigenous youth reflected in these Native American stories.
I can verify they're in the writing room, so I'm sure that'll happen.
Yay, thank you.
I pick you, Nia. Holla.
Hey, Nia, that's a really good point. But you also have Sydney Freeland on staff as a writer. And if you remember Drunktown's Finest. So I am hopeful that, at least in that perspective, that's brought in. Good point.
Okay, Pete, we got some silence here. What do you want to do next?
I want to do a recap. This is Reservation Dogs Season 1, Episode 7 recap and discussion. And this, just a reminder, we have it in the notes, but this session is being recorded, so I'm going to upload it to my podcast. I think it's a really important for these conversations, and I'm really honored to have everyone on the stage, Mr. Farmer and everyone on here sharing their stories, Nia, Naomi, Waylon, everyone, Tracy. So if you want to come up on stage, we usually go about 2 hours. We're about an hour and a half, so we got about half an hour to go. So we can keep the conversation going, and we're inviting anyone up on the stage that wants to speak and share their thoughts on the episode or on the whole series, Reservation Dogs. I am really, really looking forward to season 2 and also the finale. I wonder if Gary can drop a little bit of what's going to happen. No, we should wait, huh? Surprise, maybe. But yeah, we haven't heard from Mark for a while. Let's see, who haven't heard from? Cherish, Alex is on there. Anybody in the audience, just raise your hand and one of our moderators will bring you up if you want to talk about the episode.
Really quick, guys, I just was thinking, so we've seen the little episodes featuring each character, right? And this was a Laura Dannon's episode. and I think we talked about this before in previous episode recaps. Do you think Bear's feature will come up in this finale for the season? Or do you guys think that Bear's episode already happened when his father was supposed to come to town? And the whole pickle medallion, Mike?
That's what I was thinking. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
I think that was his episode. That's just my thoughts.
I'm going to vote that it wasn't, because I noticed that nobody else was in the scene, so it was just solely those one characters for the ensemble.
I think Bear is going to be featured next, and it's going to kind of pull some things together. Those questions we've had so far.
I think that was his episode. That's just but I think that was his episode.
I had one more comment. This is Cheryl Lee about episode 7. How about Elora Danon covering for Coach after he shoots the drug guy, and she's supposed to be on her driver's license test, and she's like, she covers for him basically, and I thought that was pretty cool. And trying to build that trust, because they were partners in crime for a moment.
Yep. F that tweaker. But welcome RB to the stage, and also Muzzy up here. Go ahead. What do you think about the episode?
Hey, this is Rachel. I actually just have a question on episode 3 for Mr. Farmer. Hey, Gary. What was in the bomb when Uncle goes into the store and you do that big bong hit? And you coughed your head off.
I guess I think it was. I suspect. I can't say that I remember that much. I think it was CBD weed, so it had no THC in it or something. It was just pretty dry too, so it was easy to do that. Obviously.
It was brilliant. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having this room. It's really good to be here.
Hey, Gary, isn't it really TLC? It didn't have no TLC.
I suppose you could look at it that way. Yeah. But there's nothing I can say about the last episode that I certainly can't, in no position to wreck it for you all, Pete, since you're having so much talking, so much fun. Not fun, but obviously it's great discussion. And I want to thank all the organizers for having me here tonight. And it's always wonderful as a performer to kind of listen to reaction to things, and how just even the art direction can affect an audience member. It's always encouraging to hear feedback like this. I don't get that opportunity very often. So I really enjoyed tonight's discussion and everyone's views and things. And I think the emotional stakes are, I guess, I don't know, it's kind of a sad story, but maybe I'll end with this. That film Smoke Signals we shot many years ago, we were actually, in fact, I was in another bankers meeting, if you can believe it. They got bankers across the country looking at native cinema these days, and native story. It wasn't always ours, but bankers looking at Smoke Signals, and they actually played scenes from the film. And of course, you all know the film very well, so it was very specific scenes, and they kind of analyzed what the scene was about and whether there was, where that came from and all that thing. It was very fascinating to listen to. And there was certainly some Native people the banking business, but and it was a Native person organizing the events. But they regularly get together and meet over Native cinema and discuss the issues that the film deals with and such. Anyway, in reality, when we made Smoke Signals, it was actually shot in the community it kind of represented to start. We actually shot in Idaho in Sherman's community, and I never forget, we stayed, I guess, at the casino there up by the highway, and I remember driving in, and we were shooting specifically the party scene. Many of you remember that scene, of course, the nobody scene repeated, and everyone kind of related. Wow, is that like a thing, related to dead men? It raised all kinds of great questions and stuff. And but the morning before we shot that, when we all arrived on set that morning, I'll never forget that there was a suicide in the community that day, that morning, that evening, and was found that morning. And it wasn't very far from where we shot. And I just always remember that moment. And the young girl, the baby that we used in the film for the movie, she died tragically in a car accident too. Coming from that casino just a couple of years ago, and my condolences to that community and all our communities in suffering these losses of young, beautiful people. And so it's always been a part of my experience in our community. We've always had to deal with these hard issues as performers and live through it, performing some of this stuff for, in the case of what I was talking earlier, Thompson's Plays, running it 2 years is, kind of living in that darkness. It's really important that our performers and entertainers understand that how much that takes and wears on you over the years. How you can tell a story that's a hard story for an extended period of time. It can affect you if you're not in a good place, if you're having issues with your own life. And I've always lived through the work, and I've kind of given what have I experienced in the work. And that's all part of the creative process for all of us. And, so I want to thank you for regurgitating something like this. It's a special time for us in this day and age to see something finally that we can actually talk about as our own. And it's kind of a first. So it's always fun to experience those. And hopefully, Sterling's inspiration of, us not even being counted that time when we were whatever those words were, those famous words on CNN, we've certainly changed and applied ourselves to that picture and that creative bunch that are fueling comedy television these days will live and love forever. So thank you all very much. This is Gary.
Gary, thank you so much. This is Shirley. I have a question for you. So before, when you had left, before you had left the first time, you had mentioned that you had not seen any of these episodes, and a few of us after you left were wondering why. Why would you not see any of the episodes of this show? So I think you're alluding to that in what you just said, that it's a lot of work staying in these characters and to continue watching even afterwards. It takes a lot. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, I would have watched all over it. I love watching the rollouts. I just don't have any access. I just got back from Spain, and we don't get American television in Spain. I was working on a new project over there with Chasky Spencer, by the way, is going to be and you're all going to watch Chasky coming up with Wild Indians viewing thing you got set up. I guess you should announce that to develop some audience. That's the next feature film coming at you by a native director, native written, young Sundance ingenue, coming out with his first feature film and being highly touted, and Maiko kind of launching, his leading man career. We're going to get to watch that now. And Chasky's follow-up with Emily Blunt with this series we just shot with the English. We're making a real stand here. It's really exciting time for us. So no, it's only because I couldn't see it in Spain, and I wasn't allowed to fly back to America, unbeknownst to me, when I went to go back to my home in Santa Fe, because I didn't have, I'm not an American citizen. I guess I carry a Canadian passport, not by choice, but that's where I was born, on my reservation above the American line. Although I'm a status Canadian Indian, which gives me this Indian card to cross the border, but not from Spain. Didn't work. So I had to go from Madrid to Paris, and Paris all the way to Vancouver. They wouldn't let me land anywhere but Canada to come to work for Resident Alien being shot in Vancouver. So, and I guess it is here now, but I'm in a hotel room with, who knows, they got 20 channels of Canadian TV. I can watch APTN, but unfortunately APTN's not buying Reservation Dogs, which is a great discussion now. It's good to know why. But also, I just haven't had access, and nobody's saying, Gary, here's the next episode to me. So I just leave it. I don't mind. I've got my head full of language already. So, but I just love talking to you guys and listening. So it's nothing that I can't take, believe me.
Man, Gary, just get a laptop and I'll give you my Hulu password.
Disney
I know.
Plus.
So
Well, I have a laptop, but everyone's asking me for the Hulu password. I don't have it, but yeah, I accept your. It's my email is readily available. Happy to give it to you and get that Hulu password.
I can help Gary Farmer access these shows. I'm
Right?
right there.
Yes.
Well, Gary, thank you very much. I know you have to run, but I really, really am honored and appreciate you coming on here today. And just big.
By the way, I did do
Yes.
the judging for the.
You did
Willie Jack contest at Yakima.
Nice.
There were 10 contestants. I chose a second, first, and winner. The winner, I chose the winner because I asked the young ladies to, let me know who they are and everything and tell me a little about themselves. And there was one that really spoke up so excellently. She was the smallest one. And, but I suspect that, if you're going to win the Willie Jack dress, it's one thing to look like her, but you got to be able to talk up like Willie Jack does so well.
Hey, Gary, you haven't been to Menominee Nation yet. There's a Willie Jack everywhere in Menominee country in northern Wisconsin. And they got that accent, they got the dress, and they're just, it's actually my Nicole's little sister, Erin, is Willie Jack. Definitely Willie Jack,
Better Willie Jack than Uncle Brownie. That's for sure.
I don't think anybody's Uncle Brownie up there.
Gary, this is Cheryl Lee again. I have a question that was sent to me in the back channel, and it is, please ask Gary what it was like working with Taika Waititi and if his Maori culture came through in his vision for the show.
Unfortunately, I've known of Taika since his very first short film. I got to tell you, there's a funny story. I did the 3. I was supposed to do 4 episodes of Reservation Dogs, and I don't know what happened, but I tried my best to get it 4 episodes, being in Tulsa, and even I think I'm in a drive-by for one of the episodes. I don't know if it ever made it into series or not. But so it didn't work out for me that way, and so I went home. I had to go and come back home and then go again. It's a pretty low budget operation, and Taika's doing this other show, which you got to look out for. It's called. Anyway, this is a long story to say. I've never met Taika. I've never met him. In fact, he came to a rehearsal, I heard, because he plays Blackbeard in this other series called Our Flag Means Death. And it's set in 1771. He plays Blackbeard, right? And it's kind of like pirates going around the world. And of course, every now and then they get to the native islands. So I play Taino, chief. And it's pretty crazy thing. So, but he came apparently to a rehearsal of mine and witnessed my presentation of this character that he's producing. I don't know, I think he was involved in the conception, but I'm not sure he executed the writing. But I still look forward to meeting Taika, if he stays in Hollywood for a while. But yeah, he's done an amazing job. And for him to kind of get developed as well, like many of our filmmakers that he's working with through the Sundance program, and his first short film being an Academy Award nominated for Best Short Film, he's had kind of if you look at his history of cinema, you can see a lot of the imagery in the series itself. It's really his creative movement that has fueled so much entertainment in the country at this point, and it's going to carry on for a while. So he's been a blessing for the Maori to come, and Sundance pulls fellows from all over fellows in terms of male and female from all over the world, from indigenous communities. But so for him to give back to the Native people this way, it just makes too much sense, and it's just a wonderful gesture. And for Sterling and the gang to just take that ball and run with it, it's just brilliant. So I'm just happy to be involved.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. Really quick, Muzzy, welcome to the stage. Do you have a question or a comment for Mr. Farmer, or a comment about the show? I know Uncle Brownie has to leave, but I wanted to make sure I caught you, Muzzy. Thank you for being so patient.
Yes, hello, Yate. I just want to say to you, Gary, that you really resonate with my uncle, who I dearly miss, and it was nice seeing your character as what it is, and it just brought me back home. It was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had he wasn't an uncle. He was kind of a cousin. His name was Brownie Porter. He was from my band. He's moved on, and his wife was a friend of my mother's, the cousins. And they grew up kind of together and got their first job together off the res. And the Indian communities, from the res often move to the city for work. In this case, we moved stateside to Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York, and there was people from all of our communities up in Kahnawake, Kanesatake. Of course, we were the iron workers that eventually moved to New York and did all that. We built those power projects and worked on all those operations in Buffalo, Bethlehem Steel, and so we were a big part of that industrialization. And we always had these social clubs, as people, Native communities, whether we were back on the res, if we lived in the city, then we all gathered and we used to have these huge picnics, all the Indian folks from, our towns and cities. And And we used to have these potlucks where everyone would bring those trays of roast beef and gravy, and they used to have Kemmelwick buns, and everyone would bring Kemmelwick, and we under the bowling alley, and they all had an Indian bowling league on Friday nights. It was a real kind of urban, and that happened all over America, with all the pushing of natives for one reason or another, whether it was forced or chose for work and survival. But we've always been migrant worker types. And so, it's just wonderful to experience all that. And I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but thank you, everyone.
Gary, one last thing before you go, I wanted to kind of give you an update on the work up here in Fort Peck. They actually invited me to do an update on their methamphetamine and suicide prevention initiative, the first response toolkit. So I'm going to mention that I was able to get on this call and to talk to you guys and listen to you guys. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I thank you for the invitation. I just wanted to add that my wife Joetta Allrunner, 4-star, she's enrolled in Southern Cheyenne. So the show, the Reservation Dogs, this is set in Oklahoma, so it's great to be able to see some of that. But her favorite part about the series so far is that we've actually got to see the deer lady. So I used to go to Oklahoma every summer too. My stepdad was Sac and Fox and Kickapoo, so I go to Stroud to the Sac and Fox powwow every summer when I was a kid. That we always talked about deer lady, and there's always deer lady. So I thought that was a great episode too. So she wanted to say, keep up the good work, everybody, and we really appreciate the work that you've done. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, Gary Farmer, again. I'll get you an air horn. Woo!
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Thank you for joining us today.
Hey Pete, where's your what is that? Big mic and the sound clips for funny, or what is it called? Mic bone or funny bone?
Oh, which clip?
Yeah, the little guys. So they're I got honored at the American Indian Music Awards, the NAMMYs, I guess they call it, and I had Derek with me in the band, and it was a great act, and we were performing for them there 3 songs, and that last song, all of a sudden those two little guys, they're Seminole act, they're from Oklahoma, and they came running up there, and I didn't know them from Adam, and I got to know them really good after they joined me on stage, and we performed a song together, and they're just the most fun. And I have a few scenes with those guys in the final episode. We have a lot of fun, so you can look forward to that. Mike, and I keep looking at their names, but they're doing wonderfully right now. They're having so much fun. They've worked so hard for so many years to kind of entertain, and they're so popular in Oklahoma. I mean, they can survive from just going community to community. But they're real special guys.
So this is Cheryl Lee. Wasn't Little Mike and Funny Bone on America's, what is that show?
Top Model?
Yeah.
No, America's Got Talent.
Talent, yeah. They were.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. They should be.
They did the rain dance or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. The rain
That's your song? Pete, sing it, Pete.
Do the rain dance? No.
Play it, Pete.
I'd have to look it up. But
yeah, Pete, you should do more of your DJ stuff, and your mic needs a little work. It's pretty soft, but you should
that's what everyone's
add
saying.
Little sounds and stuff, because I know you kind of do that kind of thing. That would be
How come you're
good.
listening to Gary Farmer when I tell you I can't hear you, and you're like,
that's what everyone says. It's like
It's just his voice.
Perfect.
Pete has a big soft voice.
I think it's just your voice, Pete.
Music on, just on 2 or 3, so we can all leave in a good way. Yeah.
hey.
Put on some smoke dance songs, Pete.
Yeah, we used to play a lot of that. I'm sorry. Yeah, we used to do that. We used to play a lot of music, and I'm thinking of bringing an Indigenous radio show. I used to play reggae music here at KPYT. I'm in the Yaqui Reservation here in Tucson, Arizona. But I was like, we should do a radio show on Clubhouse. But then there's something.
Well, I remember when you kind of struck out like that, and then you seemed to get uptight about it, and you've kind of shut down. We only get a little blast every now and then. I think you should open her up some. Let her put your foot to the pedal there a little bit.
Okay, I'll do it. You heard it first here.
Arrivederci, everyone. Adios,
Alrighty.
amigos.
Thanks, Gary.
Bye.
See you, Gary.
I got the music
Bye.
going on.
Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
But anyways, yeah, that was awesome. What do you all think, everyone? That was a pretty good episode. Perfect timing. 2 hours and 1 minute. God, it's just perfect. Else to say, but I think we covered everything on the show. The episode
I think this is
7.
one of your best shows, Pete.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah, it is. I'm gonna invite another guest for next show. The final. He did mention something about the final episode. Did you catch that? Me and Mike, Funny Bone, and what are their names? We do something on the
Lil
final.
Mike and Funny Bone.
They do something. So he did drop something, but we're not gonna say nothing. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to that recap of Reservation Dogs. That was episode 7, California Dreamin'. It was one of the best recaps we've had so far. Thank you to all the moderators. And thank you all out there for listening to this podcast. We'll be back for season 2. Can't wait for that. And yeah, looking forward to that. So thank you all for continuing to listen to the podcast. We have a lot of great episodes coming up, more interviews, some more, I don't know, we got a bunch of good stuff planned for the fall of 2021. So thank you, Choco Tesia. Health is wealth. Don't forget. And thank you. We'll see you around Clubhouse. We'll see you around here, wherever you listen to this episode. And thank you again.